Welcome to the Modern Merchant Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Merrier, CEO of FlexPoint. Today we have Jamison Collins from Fastbound. Jamison, appreciate you being on the podcast, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today, Travis.
Cool. So definitely want to get you to talk a little bit about Fastbound, what it is. I know you guys are one of the top players in the bound book space and the firearms space in general, but for people who don't know about Fastbound, love to hear more about just kind of the quick overview to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Fastbound was founded in 2010. We're a cloud-based acquisition disposition log bound book, essentially, with an electronic 4473 to help firearm dealers keep track of their firearms as they're logging them in, logging them out, and making sure that when they're doing a 4473 that they're filling it out, customers filling it out correctly, all the information where it needs to be, and that way when the ATF shows up to do an audit, everything's correct.
Got it. So making it easy to stay in compliance, not go to jail. Make sure your operations are in line. Let's back up for a little bit in general and just talk about what a bound book is. I think a lot of people that might see this are firearms dealers that already understand what that is. But for those that might not know, you just talk about what a bound book is and why it's essential to be in a firearms dealer.
Yeah, absolutely. So ATF requires that firearm dealers either record as they manufacture firearms or as they receive firearms. They need to log that information into a record and store it. So that way they know when it came in, who it came from, and then when that firearm leaves, they need to log that information out. There's certain criteria for, are you disposing it to another dealer? Are you bringing it in from an individual or an organization? So that's what we track, and that's what we allow dealers to simplify using a digital solution compared to paper. Traditionally, it's always been a paper. You get a big log, it's a ledger book. You're going through and writing it in. You've got to flip through 20 pages to find that serial that you received 4 months ago. Digital really changes that.
Yeah, for sure. And we see it in a lot of different industries and certain workflows and business in general, right? Going from paper to digital makes a lot of sense. Is there anything specifically that, from like a business workflow perspective that going digital adds, 10x's your efficiency or adds new features that we're not capable with paper? Just curious on if you can talk to like how going digital can really help a company that, maybe a firearms dealer has been with their bound book on paper for 20 years. You're like, I really don't need to go digital. What are some of the things to be thinking about and the benefits of going digital?
Yeah, absolutely. What I always tell people is, I'm going to save you time. I'm going to make it easier to go back through, and I'm going to give you the peace of mind that everything's where it needs to be. But my goal is to make sure that you're compliant, that you're logging in the correct information, that you're not making simple common errors that the ATFs, they're treating you like a criminal if you forget to dot an I or cross a T. Our goal is to make sure that you're compliant, your logs are correct. When we're within that, you're going to gain the efficiencies. You're going to go through, you're not having to sit down and write down, the same information over and over again, because we're going to duplicate that for you. We're going to use the same information that you previously used. So you're going to save a lot of time. Biggest thing is especially if you're doing digital storage of the 4473, you're not having to go dig through banker's boxes. You can literally just go pull up that 4473 and have it within seconds.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm familiar with the 4473, but can you just describe the 4473 and what that is, what document that is specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an ATF document that the buyer has to fill out when they're at your facility to purchase a firearm. They're going to go through, put in their name, their address. The address has to match what's on their ID. They're going to go through and answer a set of questions to ensure that they're eligible to purchase a firearm. And if they answer any of those questions incorrectly, they're automatically disqualified. One of the great things with using a digital solution is if they answer, yes, I'm a felon, or yes, I'm an illegal immigrant, then it's going to automatically card stop you, and it's not going to allow you to accidentally make the mistake of selling that firearm to the individual.
Yeah, that's great. That's huge, really, right? Cool. So it'd be great, and see is believing, right? If you want to pull up, it looks like you already started sharing. That's great. Yeah. Some key features around Fastbound and your guys' digital solution and how it might really kind of help, like you said, have your customers kind of save time, save money, and stay compliant.
Yep. So just wanted to pull this up. This is the official format. Changes all the time. We're always going to make sure that a software that you're using, it matches the requirements that ATF has. So we always make sure we're ahead of the curve. We always have new releases. So it's a beautiful part about being a cloud-based solution is we just push out updates based off the requirements. But just want to show you right here, instead of you writing it down, sitting there trying to decipher the handwriting, it's all legible. You can read it. You can zoom into it. It's all searchable. We track changes that's required by the ATF. So if you do make a mistake, because it does happen, you read the wrong serial as you're requiring it, you can always go back and edit it, and we automatically leave that audit trail to ensure that you're compliant.
No, that's great. Perfect. Yeah. What else? I'd love to, we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast on a couple of features that you guys have. I know there's certain kind of nuanced requirements around whether it's, selling multiple handguns over a certain period of time to the same person, or, different kind of lists that you need to keep track of. So what other features are beneficial in the Fastbound?
Yeah, the multiple sales is big, especially with some of the changes rolling out. ATF just changed the form of the requirements due by August 1st, where you've got to report not only just pistols, but you also have to report rifles in bordering states. So we're working on that update. We'll have it out shortly, but the rule essentially says pistols across the country, if an individual purchases a pistol from you within 5 business days, that you have to submit a multiple sale to the ATF and your local CLEO, Chief Law Enforcement Officer. So we track that automatically in the system. So if somebody comes in and buys a pistol on Monday and they buy a pistol on Friday, we're going to notify you that, hey, this is a multiple sale. We take all of the information from the 4473, generate that form for you. You validate that it's correct, and then you pull it up. You can either print it, digitally save it, and then hit transmit. We email it to the ATF and your CLEO for you. We track that to make sure that they received it, so they can't come back in 6 months and say, hey, you didn't submit this. So that's all part of the software.
Yeah. Awesome. What else as far as like security, privacy? What other things should firearms dealers be thinking about when it comes to storing this information, having this information? What else do you guys do to kind of ensure, whether it's compliancy, but also privacy, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a cloud-based solution. So we put a lot of emphasis on our team to ensure that it's secure. We give you a lot of different, passwords. You can't log into your front computer, go to the back office and log in. It's going to kick you out of the front because we don't want you to share IDs. We want to make sure that it's the individual that's logged in is that person. We've got 2-factor authentication from the password standpoint. We don't allow people to use that. You can't use password. It's not a valid or secure password. So we automatically block little things like that to make sure that people aren't allowing for the system to be hacked. We also have IP restrictions, so you can set up your, secured IPs with single sign-on and things like that to make sure that our dealers are secure and they're not allowing their information to get out there.
No, that's great. Awesome. What else did we not touch on that might be valuable to touch on here?
Cloud-based, things like that, and you just kind of software itself. ATF's going in and they're dinging these dealers for common mistakes because they just trust that, the paper bound, but they've been doing it for 20 years. That always works. Well, a lot of dealers aren't understanding that ATF's changed over the last few years. They've got new requirements and mandates. So they're going in, they're treating your clerical errors as, violations. So you're going to get dinged for it. You either lose your license or, like you said earlier, they're going to, bring you up on criminal charges. So software really does not allow simple things like that. When we go through and look at, what all these dealers are getting dinged for, those are the features and tools that our software is building, like common mistakes that you might not lose your license over it, but it's an incorrect form. Like, individual coming in there and putting their today's date as their birthday or putting USA and county. That's what our software is going to stop. Little things like that. We're going to ensure that individual's filling it out correctly every time. And we're going to make sure that all the boxes are filled out. So you cannot accidentally proceed with the transaction if you don't check proceed, 27C.
Yeah.
One second, pulling up a copy of a 4473 just so I can kind of show it and go over it a little bit just if people aren't familiar with what it is. They have a better understanding. So this is 4473 Cloud. This is one of our partners. They allow for digital storage of 4473. So I'll give them a little shout out. Great company. They do digital storage. You have to not apply, but you have to notify the ATF that you're going to be doing digital storage and wait 60 days. After 60 days, you no longer have to physically store that 4473. So,
okay.
Just pulling it up right here. I just want to show everybody an example of a 4473. So this is the official document. You've got your firearms here. One thing to note is that you have, spaces for 3 firearms. Our software, if you sell somebody 5 firearms, we're automatically going to add the continuation page. So that way you have all the correct documentation. But as you go through, there's a lot of fields here on paper. Not only are you trying to decrypt somebody's handwriting, it's awful. You're making sure that all the boxes are filled out. So, Are they checking the box? Do they reside in city limits? Did they accidentally put USA? As they're going through and they're filling this out, we're going to make sure we stop and we notify them like, hey, you've got to correct this. All
Sure.
these questions right here. We're making sure that they're all properly documented and filled out and notifying you of anything that is a concern.
Right. Makes sense. So how does this apply in a sale that is happening right in an actual brick and mortar, right? Not online, not an online purchase or whatever it might be, but in a brick and mortar, obviously. How does this work? Are they handed a tablet or what's the process?
Well, I love the online, and I always like to point out to everybody, you cannot go online and buy a gun and have it shipped directly to your house. It doesn't work that way. Any dealer that does that, they're going to lose their license most likely because it's not secure. None of the dealers I know will openly do that. So I always like to put that out there on all webinars that you can't do it. But let's use the online example. You go online, you buy a gun, and you have it shipped to your local dealer. When it comes into that local dealer, he is going to go ahead and log into his bound book. Once it's logged in his bound book, he's going to call you and say, hey, your firearm's here, come pick it up. When they come to pick it up, they're going to come and fill out a 4473. With our software, we make it super easy. I'll just pull it up right here and let me find a gun. All right, so let's say this gun right here, this little Canic pistol. Somebody bought it online. They had it shipped to a store. I'm coming in to pick it up. All I have to do from the store standpoint is just start a 4473. I'm going to scan that serial. I'm going to confirm that everything is correct. This is also important, and our software simplifies this process, but ATF is going to check it. Are you using the correct fields that match what's on the steel of the firearm? Is it pistol? Does it say 9mm? Does it say 9x19? Who is the manufacturer and who is the importer? You want to make sure you record all of that correctly, and then it matches every single time. With our solution, we have smart lists. So once you add a field into the software, you can pull up that same field. So you're not having to type Canic USA every time. You can just hit C, Canic shows up, you click that one, and then you move forward. So I've gone ahead, added the firearm here. I've put this firearm in a section A. I think this is like 2 or 3 years now. ATF changed the form where they require that you actually have that firearm on the 4473 prior to the buyer filling it out. So once I've done that, I lock it. We give you a PIN number. Hey, your PIN number is 638. That's what you're going to tell the buyer. So then on our solution, you can have as many devices up and running. People can scan it, a QR code, fill it out on their cell phone. We give them a lot of different options. They just walk up and they put in that PIN number that I did not copy.
638, maybe.
Put in the PIN number. Then they're going to go through and they're going to fill out the form. We can do it in English and Spanish. We can also allow the buyers to scan their information to make sure that it's correct and then use that to help populate the form. I've got a little cheat tool just to kind of cut things down. So I'm going to fill this out. Chester is going to fill it out, but traditionally Chester is going to go through, populate this information. They want to make sure that it's filled out correctly. If they make a mistake, and let's say I put in USA or I put in today's date, these are very common mistakes. When they go through and they think they filled everything out correctly and they hit continue, it's going to jump out and say, hey, this is not correct. So at that point, they're going to have to go and fix this. And then as they go through, these are the questions. It's important that they answer every single one. It's important that if they answer one that disqualifies them, that you don't, move forward. If they don't read it and they say, no, I'm not the actual transferee, you can always avoid this and have them start over and fill out a fresh one.
Okay. Great.
There's a lot of rules around coaching. You can't go in there and say, hey, are you sure you're a felon? Things like that. So you have to be really careful on how you...
It's nice too. Like you said, you can do it for yourself or whatever. You have a huge rush of people in your brick and mortar store and you want to be able to close out a lot of these at once. You can kind of do it, right? You got multiple filling it out. You can have iPads you're turning around. You can do whatever it might be, right?
Yeah, we also have a QR code that you can actually print out on a label and put that on the firearm. So as they come in, you can say, hey, you want to buy this one? Okay, just scan that QR code and they can It retrieves the 4473 and they can start filling it out.
Awesome. What's it look like to get onboarded? You know, what can you speak to pricing at all? Love to know, like, if someone's like, well, this is awesome, this is going to make my life that much better and, you know, speed up my my sales. How do you get started? Can you speak to pricing, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Fastbound starts at $9 a month for 100 acquisitions a year. So we've try to keep it affordable. It goes up. So if you acquire 10 guns today, those 10 guns count against you from 1 year from the date that you receive it. And as you acquire more, then your plan will go up and you just go in there and you simply upgrade it. So it just goes up. We've got, plans for every level, from a small retailer that's selling guns out of their house to the large, retailer that's selling, thousands of guns every month online to the distributor that's, moving hundreds of thousands of guns every month.
Awesome.
Onboarding, it really depends. If you're coming over from paper, it depends on how many guns you have in inventory. You can either put them on a spreadsheet, you can manually upload them. We have a ton of tools for training and getting onboarded. So it's as simple as letting our team know, hey guys, I need a little bit of support. All my guns are a paper bound book. What's the best way to convert? So we can jump on a call with them and kind of coach them to make sure that it's an easy transition. And then we have a ton of training resources. One thing that we're really proud of is our support. We have a little chat tool built into the software, and it's less than a 3-minute response time. So if you ever have questions or you need help, it's simply just jumping on there. Hey guys, I'm stuck. Hey, I've got the situation. What do I need to do? Our guys are able to advise, help you get moving, and hopefully finish that transaction.
Awesome. That's great. That's why you guys are a leader in the space, and it seems like you got an affordable kind of entry point here, which is great to see. Awesome, man. This was great. Anything else before we jump? Anything we missed?
No, I think we covered a lot of it. Really enjoyed it. And if there's any questions or anything, just reach out and let me know.
Cool. Fastbound.com. Go ahead and check it out.
Yep.
Thanks again, Jamison.